Welcome back, everyone. Today I'll be analyzing the floor and beam skills and routines of Olympic alternate Joscelyn Roberson. There were 3 potential Olympians that could not compete at the trials due to injury: Shalise Jones, Sky Blakely, and Kayla DiCello. With this unfortunate fact and the unpredictability of sports, it's wise for the 2 alternates to the Olympic team, Joscelyn Roberson and Leanne Wong, to be both physically and mentally prepared to compete. Either way, I believe we'll see both these athletes much more in the future. Joscelyn became age eligible to be a senior in 2022, so her rise has been pretty fast. She has a very high level of difficulty on floor, beam, and vault, and that helps set her apart, but her biggest challenges in my view are her frequent looseness in her execution and leg form, and her bars are not as strong as her other 3 events. She's very powerful and aggressive, and that mixed with her high level of difficulty makes her very fun to watch. Let's get started with the analysis on beam. She does a pretty simple but comfortable mount to get her beam routine started. Her first major skill is a standing tuck full or a backflip with a full twist. Here's a side-by-side with Sky Blakely. They both have strong arm lift into their full. I would say Joscelyn is leaning back a bit more, and this will take away from her height a bit. They both get into a very clean and tight tuck position. Sky lands a bit higher than Joscelyn, but they both see the beam clearly, and Joscelyn is really good at micro-adjusting to not show any bobble on her fulls. She's very consistent on this skill. From this angle, we can see Joscelyn spots the beam early and sees the beam almost the entire time during the full. Again, landing a bit low, but very solid. Her split leap flexibility is subpar, and she does struggle with her flexibility in general in all of her gymnastics. I believe this does stand out in the overall look of her gymnastics. Her strength is in her acrobatic awareness and control of her landings. She's just very solid. Joscelyn actually won bounce beam at the Olympic trials. Here's a very difficult side aerial into 2 layout step outs into her trademark solid landing. And here's a side-by-side with Alicia Dudnik. They both have very similar positions in their side aerial and eye the beam very well. Joscelyn has a more closed body angle at the upside down point as her foot seeks out the beam. The second layout is done the same way. Dudnik reaches back more before bringing her foot over her body to seek the beam. Joscelyn drops her hands below the beam and her head is closer to the beam. She does rotate her 4'8" body around quickly in spite of not following through with her full arm set. Dudnik relies on her flexibility to get her foot down early and maintain the height she established with her good arm set. Although they do this series with some noticeable differences, they both still finish pretty easily. A solid full turn here. This next skill is called an Anodi, and here's a side-by-side with the creator of this skill, Henrietta Anodi. Joscelyn leans back much more and turns noticeably later than Henrietta. Henrietta is much more flexible than Joscelyn, and this allows her to square up a more normal front walkover, where Joscelyn is noticeably tighter here. This may make it more challenging for Joscelyn to square up and control the end of the skill. Again, we see some tightness in this straddle leap from Joscelyn. Her pike leap shows much better position. Her dismount is a back handspring step out into a back handspring 2-foot takeoff double pike dismount. Here's a side-by-side with Alicia Sacramone. I think Joscelyn missed her punch here a little bit as her legs are bent more than normal. Missing your punch just means your timing is off between the time you punch the beam and throw your arms. Alicia is standing up with straighter legs a bit more and has a good punch with both legs. They both snap into a nice pike position. Joscelyn lands low on this but stands up very fast. Here's a better dismount from Joscelyn when she didn't miss her punch. She hits a good punch off the beam and the result is she lands much higher and easier. Well done. Moving on to floor. Joscelyn mounts with a very difficult layout double-double, or a laid out double backflip with 2 twists. She's a very powerful tumbler with a nice long and powerful back handspring to set up for her skills. Here's a side-by-side with Jade Carey. They both set almost identically. Joscelyn does struggle with some leg separation slightly throughout this skill. However, this leg separation is only for a microsecond. Jade and Joscelyn have very similar techniques on their layout double-doubles. They both do them very well, and this is almost an identical landing. Really cool skill. Her second pass is a layout full in or a full twisting double layout with a twist on the first flip. Here's a side-by-side with Jordan Childs. They both have strong arm and chest throw initiating their early twist. They both complete their full twist in the first flip, and here again Jordan struggles with a slight leg separation in the air. Remember, in slow motion we see this very clearly, but in fast motion it doesn't look this pronounced. Now they both do a layout back to finish this skill and land very similarly with nice control. Joscelyn is pretty bouncy on the floor, but she's not naturally flexible, so her height and her leaps actually help her reach the most flexible position that she's capable of. Her next pass is a double layout. Again, we see a leg separation. Increased flexibility in her back would help keep her legs together, so I believe many of her leg separations may be due to a lack in her flexibility. Her chest has a second rise to throw her into her second flip. Watch her hips as they stay close to the same height as she does her next full flip. This is really nice technique, and the reason she lands her double layout so high and easily. Here's her almost compulsory wolf turn. This one she stops at 2 as she gets off balance a little bit, but normally she does a triple wolf turn pretty comfortably. Here's her layout front flip step out into a round off back handspring double tuck. Here's a side-by-side with Kélia Namour from Algeria. They both use the hands-down technique in their layout step-out and get plenty of power in their step-out to easily finish their respective double backs. Joscelyn is explosive and fast twitch and has very strong legs that help her rebound and get great height in her tumbling and also help to control her landings. Her high difficulty level and aggressive, consistent approach to her gymnastics are her biggest assets. I believe her biggest challenge is her tightness and flexibility and many leg separations throughout her acrobatic skills. Increasing her flexibility would greatly help to eliminate many of those leg separations in the air. I'm sure Joscelyn is very aware of this, and I imagine she's constantly working on trying to improve her flexibility. As always, thank you for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, as this will notify you when I post more videos like this, and leave any thoughts or suggestions you might have in the comments. Until next time, rock on!